My cards came in, as you can clearly tell. Hey guys, the N-Man here, and I'm doing a bit of a different video today. Today, I'm actually going to be covering one of my favorite archetypes to use in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. And more specifically, the app Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Why am I doing this? Well, I did just spend a good chunk of of the gift cards I got for my birthday getting these cards. But also because it's something that I like, and I figure if you're subscribed to my channel, you are into things that I like. So for the sake of argument, let's proceed with, as you can see, an archetype that is focused around Cyber Dragons. Not all of the cards in here are specifically geared towards the Cyber Dragons, but for the most part, boy do they work with them. And as you can see, I do have some doubles and even triples of some cards. But that's just because of how incredibly useful they are to the archetype and to how I play Duel Links, in case you ever befriend me on Duel Links and want to battle me. I must warn you, though, I'm a routine member of the Platinum, or not Platinum. Is it the Platinum rank? Yeah, I guess it is the Platinum rank. I'm a routine member of the Platinum rank when I duel online. Haven't in a while, but that's just because I've had way too many other things to worry about. Now, the archetype that I'm talking about today is focused around these three bad boys, who are the Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragon is a level 5 Yu-Gi-Oh monster, machine-type monster, with an effect that if your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you can special summon this card directly from your hand. And that means you can make another summon on top of that if you want. Now, as you can see, a level 5 monster with only 2100 attack in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays isn't really that useful. So the key to building around Cyber Dragons, I have 4 copies of Cyber Dragon. You're just looking at my 2 ultra rare copies and one with pretty nifty artwork, if I do say so myself. But the key to building a strong Cyber Dragon deck is all of the cards that you can use alongside it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. These aren't all of the Cyber Dragon cards that you can get. There are a lot more. In fact, I haven't even used all of them, because I still have a deck full of other cards, because I bought a structure deck geared mainly towards Cyber Dragons, as well as buying singles, or in some cases triples, of these other cards to help me, beat down your opponent, because that is the key with these Cyber Dragon cards. It's not about delaying your opponent. It's about beating them into submission as quickly as possible. And in some cases, this deck can win you the game in one turn. If you're smart enough, of course. Not always, but still. Okay, as you can see, we're built around the Cyber Dragons, but even when Cyber Dragon first came out, which I believe was in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, but I'd say around 2004, 2005, maybe in that general vicinity. Obviously, you couldn't just build a deck around these. You needed some monsters that you could use with them. And they gave us a few nifty ones, including Cyber Twin Dragon here, which needs 2 Cyber Dragon cards to fuse alongside it, and it can make 2 attacks in the same turn, or in the same battle phase. So, if your opponent doesn't have any monsters protecting their life points, that's 5,600 damage you can do in one turn with one monster. Gotta say, that's pretty impressive. I have 2 copies of that. One is a common, one is an ultra rare. The ultra rare I got in the deck that I got, the Cyber Dragon Revolution deck I have. And this one I ordered because I apparently forgot that there was a Cyber Twin Dragon in that one. I thought it was just Cyber Dragon Nova, which I also have 2 copies of, but we'll worry about that later. The third monster that was built around the Cyber Dragon archetype is Cyber End Dragon. Was supposed to be the ultimate boss monster of the Cyber Dragon archetype, but has since been outdone by a lot. A fusion of this can only be done with the above fusion materials. You cannot use anything along the lines of like a Mystical Sheep or Versago the Destroyer. You have to use 3 Cyber Dragons. That's a little tricky to pull off that you'd think, but don't worry, I have... The Cyber Dragon decks are built to get around things like that. But Cyber End Dragon's main selling point is the fact that it inflicts piercing damage whenever you attack a defense mode opponent. So no matter what happens, if you attack a monster that has less than 4,000 attack, you will be doing damage to your opponent depending on what position they're in. Can only attack once, but sometimes that's pretty darn good. In fact, Cyber End Dragon is one of my all-time favorite monsters. Probably not as awesome as like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but hey, a guy can dream. And over the years, they added more and more Cyber Dragon and Cyber Dragon type cards and monsters, including Evolution Burst, which, as you can see, you can just automatically destroy one card that your opponent controls. Of course, that means no Cyber Dragon on your side of the field can attack that turn. But that's not the end of the world. Now, one of the best strategies to use with Cyber End Dragon is to use Power Bond to bring it out. Now, Power Bond is you can fusion summon any machine type monster. And when you do and you fusion summon it, it will have double the original attack power it has. So, technically speaking, if I use Power Bond to fuse Cyber Dragons to get Cyber End Dragon, it'll have 8,000 attack. And if you don't have a monster on your side of the field, that's basically an automatic win for me, as long as I make sure you don't have any trap or magic cards that can protect you. Of course, Power Bond comes at a cost, as you have to pay the original attack strength at the end of the turn if you don't win. And a 4,000 attack cost to bring Cyber End Dragon out is pretty steep. But not the steepest that it can be for the Cyber Dragon archetypes. There are more Cyber Dragon cards out there, including Cyber Repair Plant, which, as you can see, if you have one or more Cyber Dragon cards in your graveyard, you can activate one of the following effects. You can add one... Oh, the TV. Did not mean to have... I didn't think that was still on, but apparently it was. My bad. Cyber Repair Plan, if you have 2 light machine type monsters, or Cyber Dragons specifically, in your graveyard, you can activate the effect, and you can add 1 light machine type monster to your hand, shuffle one of the Cyber Dragon cards back into your graveyard, or if you have more than 2, you can activate both effects at once, which is pretty damn powerful. In fact, it means in some way, shape, or form, you can actually keep your deck flowing and protected as long as humanly possible. Now, there are more cards out there, including Cyber Valley, which is one of the most interesting effect monsters out there. And you can use one of these effects per turn. When this card is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can banish the card, draw 1 card, and end the battle. Banish this card, sorry, not the attacking card. Draw 1 card and end the battle phase. You can target 1 face-up monster you control and this card, banish both, and then target this card and draw 2 cards. Or you can target 1 card in your graveyard, banish this card and 1 card from your hand, then place the target at the top of your deck. It's a very good defensive type Cyber Dragon monster. And I usually use the first effect when I play with this, mostly because that basically guarantees an end of the battle phase, and you can have an entire turn to reconnect your strategies or anything from there. There are so many Cyber Dragon type monsters out there, but one of the difficult aspects of it is the fact that you can only have 3 copies of Cyber Dragon in your deck. And most monsters are the same way. I think all monsters are the same way. You can only have a maximum of 3 types of cards in one deck. Fortunately, the Cyber Dragon cards have a bit of a gimmick to get around this. And that is when the card meets certain requirements, its name changes from what it is to Cyber Dragon. So for example, let's take a look at Proto Cyber Dragon. The weakest monster in this archetype, at least in my opinion, and its name becomes Cyber Dragon when it hits the field. That's its only effect. There is a skill in Duel Links called Cyber Style, which I use, which means when you're down 2,000 life points, you can special summon any number of Proto Cyber Dragons from outside of your deck to your side of the field. They can't attack that turn, but you can use them in a fusion summon if you want to bring out something like Cyber End Dragon or Cyber Twin Dragon or the other few monsters which I will get to. But that's basically all Proto Cyber Dragon's worth. I wouldn't really make it mandatory that it has to be in my deck to really say much about it, so I'd say this is probably the weakest of the Cyber Dragon cards in this archetype. And believe me, there are plenty that I still don't even own yet. So hopefully I will be collecting more and more of them as time passes. The next weakest, in my opinion, is Cyber Dragon Zwai, or Zwai, depending on how you read it. Cyber Dragon Zwai is one of the few Cyber Dragon cards that has a weird gimmick about it in terms of turning it into a Cyber Dragon. When it is in the graveyard, it is named just Cyber Dragon. But when it's on your side of the field, it is known as Cyber Dragon Zwai, unless you reveal a spell card in your hand, which is kind of damning if your opponent's like trying to figure out what your strategy is and you reveal, oh, hey, I have Power Bond in my hand, and you're like, oh, no. But aside from that, Cyber Dragon Zwai is not that bad. It's just, like I said, it's for me, when I put Cyber Dragon Zwai in my deck, I use it mostly as fodder for another card that we're going to be talking about in a bit. But basically, I send the card directly to the graveyard in terms of strategy so I can use to build out and bring out other monsters. Next up on the list is Cyber Dragon Veer. This is one of my favorites because this thing is almost freaking broken if you have enough in your deck. The gimmick of Cyber Dragon Veer is the fact that, first off, its name becomes Cyber Dragon when it hits the field. Second effect that it has is if you summon a card that has Cyber Dragon in its name, or chiefly becomes Cyber Dragon, like Proto Cyber Dragon, you can activate this effect where you can special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field in face-up defense position, and it too becomes a Cyber Dragon. So think of it this way. If on your second turn your opponent summons a monster, you can special summon Cyber Dragon to your side of the field in any attack position. Then you can special summon Cyber Dragon Veer to your side of the field in defense position. And then that gives you another turn to summon a monster, so you could summon another monster, like say Cyber Dragon Dry, and then you'll have 3 monsters on your side of the field already. There is another card that works better with this, but we'll worry about that later, since I don't own it. The best effect that Cyber Dragon Veer has, though, in my opinion, is the fact that every Cyber Dragon you control gains 500 attack while this card is face up on the field. So pretty much let's just say, for the sake of argument, you have all 3 of these Cyber Dragon Veers in your deck on your side of the field. That is a guaranteed 1,500 point attack and defense boost for all 3 of these cards, plus any other Cyber Dragon card you have on your side of the field. 3,600 attack from a Cyber Dragon is pretty damn lethal in the regular Yu-Gi-Oh game. In Duel Links, you're only limited to 3 monsters. But then again, that actually works better. That means duels go a lot faster, if I do say so myself. I personally love it when I have a Cyber Dragon Veer in my hand because it's basically an automatic defensible monster that you can put in defense mode, and when your opponent attacks it, 9 times out of 10 in Duel Links, they don't have a monster strong enough to destroy it because its defense, once it hits the side of the field, becomes 2,100. It's definitely a monster I think is worth it. And the first time I saw this card, I thought it looked like Steelix from Pokemon. So there's that. The next card is Cyber Dragon Dry. Now, Cyber Dragon Dry is one of the most recent Cyber Dragons in that it came out very recently, and for the most part, it was created to be linked up with Cyber Dragon Nova. The effect of Cyber Dragon Dry is that when this card is normal summoned, you can turn any Cyber Dragon card on your side of the field and increase its level to level 5. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, what's the point of that? It's just gonna be a nuisance to you, but think of it this way. This was built to go along with Cyber Dragon Nova, an XYZ monster which requires 2 level 5 machine monsters to summon. And if you get Cyber Dragon Dry and Cyber Dragon Veer out at once, that's 2 level 5 Cyber Dragons, and then presto, you can summon Cyber Dragon Nova the very next turn, or in the very same turn. We will talk about Cyber Dragon Nova in a bit, but that's a pretty decent effect for Cyber Dragon Dry. On top of it having a ton of attack for a 4-star monster, and if this card is ever banished and you have a Cyber Dragon on your side of the field, you can activate this effect and make that Cyber Dragon immune from destruction at any time during that turn. So even if your opponent has a monster that's stronger than it, your Cyber Dragon won't be destroyed that turn. And it works on any card that's currently named Cyber Dragon. So honestly, that makes Cyber Dragon Dry one of the most underrated Cyber Dragon cards out there. Personally, I think it'll get a lot more use in Duel Links when Cyber Dragon Nova comes out. But since they just introduced XYZ monsters, I think we're going to have to wait a while. But that's not bad. The last of the Cyber Dragon monsters I want to talk about before we get into the crazy ones is Cyber Dragon Core. This one is absolutely essential to wanting to build a Cyber Dragon deck. It's a level 2 monster with not a lot of attack and defense, but it's got some very powerful effects to it. For starters, when you summon it, you can activate the effect that allows you to add 1 card that has Cyber in its name, specifically a spell or trap card, and add it to your hand immediately. Now, there is 1 card that it works best with. Unfortunately, that card can cost up anywhere from $35 to $70 in resale because it's a super rare and extremely powerful card that fortunately I have super polymerization to not have to worry about since I can activate that in both mine or my opponent's turns. But it works best with Cyber Dragon Core because you can add that to your hand immediately and you don't have to wait to draw it. That card is Cyber Load Fusion, which basically will use any card you have on the field or that were banished, and you can basically special summon any Cyber Dragon monster or machine type monster. I think it's mostly Cyber Dragon or Chimera Tech monsters to your side of the field. Unfortunately, I don't have that, but I do have a few Cyber cards that will actually work with it, including Cybernetic Overflow, one of my most powerful and well-loved trap cards to use in Duel Links. You can banish a Cyber Dragon, one of each type of level that you have. So if you have, let's say for the sake of argument, Cyber Dragon Veer, Proto Cyber Dragon, and Cyber Dragon Core on your side of the field, that means you can automatically destroy up to 4 cards on your opponent's side of the field, which isn't bad. In Duel Links, you're limited to 3. Actually, you could probably get away with Cyber Dragon doing up to 4 or 5 Cyber Dragons in Duel Links. I've only ever gotten up to 3, but that's just because I don't use Proto Cyber Dragon. Also, if this card is destroyed before you can use it, or before it can truly activate its effect, you can add another Cyber card to your side to your hand. That includes Cyber Repair Plant, Cybernetic Hidden Technology, which will destroy an attacking monster so long as you send to the graveyard a Cyber Dragon or Cyber Dragon Fusion monster. And Cyber Network, a card that basically lets you banish as many Cyber Dragons as you want, and then after a few set turns, you can special summon all of them from the banished area to your side of the field. Personally, I think continuous spell and trap cards are not really that useful in Duel Links because of how quickly the game goes. So, I usually do my best to avoid using this as best as I can. But that brings us to some of the most underrated and most powerful parts of the Cyber Dragon decks. Those are Cyber Dragon Nova, which we will talk about next, and then the Chimera Tech monsters. Those I'll save for last because, oh my lord, they are freaking broken. Cyber Dragon Nova, as we discussed earlier, was an Xyz monster that requires 2 level 5 machine type monsters. Difficult to say, but like I said, if you use Cyber Dragon Dry, you can have 2 level 4 monsters out if you have Cyber Dragon Veer, or any other Cyber Dragon card on your side of the field, out at the same time. That'll let you Xyz summon Cyber Dragon Nova. And once per turn, you can just detach one of the materials used to used to Xyz summon it, and target one Cyber Dragon in the graveyard and special summon it. So it's very good at keeping the Cyber Dragons on your side of the field. Adding insult to injury, you can also then banish a Cyber Dragon from your hand or side of the field, and this card will gain 2100 attack. Fortunately, you can only use this once per turn, otherwise it would be one of the most broken cards in the game. Kind of like Cyber Dragon Infinity is, but since I don't have a copy of that, I can't really talk much about it. And the best part about this card is if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, not by battle, but by card effect, you can special summon any machine-type fusion monster from your deck. So as long as the card does not say it needs to be fusion summoned, like Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon does, you can special summon it. So Cyber Twin Dragon, Cyber End Dragon. Honestly, I think it's pretty damn good, I do say so myself. And I can understand why Konami is very not that interested. Sorry, my hand's falling asleep. Is a little reluctant to release Cyber Dragon Nova into the game now, because I would use the crap out of this card. I've had to use other Xyz cards in the meantime. The last cards, however, that I want to talk about are the Chimera Techs. They can be summoned by any means of polymerization or power bond, but I like to use Overload Fusion with them. Specifically because Overload Fusion allows you to use all machine monsters on your side of the field and in your graveyard. So if you're using monsters and you have an effect that keeps sending machine type monsters from your side of the field to the graveyard, you can keep sending more and more and more monsters to the point where you'll have a monster to the point where you can basically fusion summon any monster on your side of the field. Unfortunately, it's only dark machine type monsters, but the Chimera Tech monsters are dark type. Let's start with Chimera Tech Overdragon. Probably would have been better if they had not overdone it with some of the Chimera Tech cards that are out there, like Chimera Tech Mega Fleet or Chimera Tech. There are a lot of them. But Chimera Tech Overdragon is one of the best monsters to use in Duel Links because hardly anybody knows what to truly do with it. Chimera Tech Overdragon is a level 9 dark machine type fusion monster that requires Cyber Dragon and one or more machine type monsters to be used in summoning it. Now, Chimera Tech Overdragon can be fusion summoned by as many machine type monsters as you have on your side of the field. So, in Duel Links, technically speaking, if you only used polymerization or power bond, you'd be limited to what you have on your side of the field, which would be 3. And for every machine type monster and every single fusion monster you use to summon this, this card gains 800 attack and defense, since it would technically have 0 if you special summoned it any other way. Chimera Tech Overdragon would then have 2400 attack, but remember, if you use Overload Fusion and you have a ton of Cyber Dragons in your in your graveyard, you can gain a monster that can have technically no real limit to its attack power. So let's say, for the sake of argument, you have all 3 Cyber Dragon Veers, the 2 Cyber Dragon Zwais, all 3 of my Cyber Dragon Dries, all 3 of my Cyber Dragons, Cyber Dragon Core, and Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon in the graveyard. You use Overload Fusion to banish all of those monsters from your graveyard. You can have 800, 1600, 2400, 3200, 4000. Hold on, there we go. 4000, 4800, 5600, 6400, 7000, and then 78, 80. Oh, wait, no, not 78. 64, 72, 8000, 8800. And if you have the two Proto Cyber Dragons on your side of the field, that's a monster with over 10,000 attack. And the best gimmick about Chimera Tech Overdragon is the fact that it can attack as many times as the amount of fusion materials that have been used to summon it. So if you used all those monsters, there is literally nothing your opponent can do to keep himself alive and surviving that turn. Of course, there are some issues with Chimera Tech Overdragon, such as if it's flipped face down or anything is done to alter it, its attack and defense will drop to 0, and then it's just a big target, and that's kind of not good. So basically, Chimera Tech Overdragon is there for... basically, if you really want to win the duel right then and there, I would recommend using it. Otherwise, I would go with Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. It's a level 5 Dark Machine type monster, which requires 2 Cyber Dragon monsters at minimum in order to fusion summon. Now, Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon is an amazing card to use in Duel Links because of how few spell and trap cards you can have set on the field at any given time. Because when you fusion summon this card, depending on how many materials you use to fusion it, you can destroy that many spell and trap cards on your opponent's side of the field. So, technically speaking, you can remove 4 at this point in Duel Links. Or, in regular Yu-Gi-Oh!, you can destroy as many as you feel you need to. You could also use Overload Fusion to bring this out, but I prefer that with Chimera Tech Overdragon, but I digress. The best part about Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, though, is the effect that you can use to coincide with Chimera Tech Overdragon, which was what I used to help me get into my Platinum rankings. And that effect is, you can activate an effect where you can discard 2 Machine-type Cyber Dragon monsters from your deck to the graveyard, and this card gains 2 additional attacks. So technically speaking, I can use this effect, discard both Cyber Dragon Zwais to the graveyard, and then Bippity Boppity Boo. Now they're both Cyber Dragon cards and can be used for Cybernetic Overload, Cybernetic or Cyber Repair Plan, or any of the other cyber cards that I have and that I need. Or I can use them in Overload Fusion to bring out another monster. And think about it that way. You can basically overpower any monster your opponent has as long as it has under 2100 attack. Plus, you can use things like Power Bond to double its attack, or cards like Power of the Guardian, which keeps adding more and more attack power depending on how many tokens you have on. Tokens. Is it tokens? No, it's spell counters. Counters, there you go. You have spell counters on it, depending on how many spell counters you have on it. And honestly, that's what makes Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon one of my favorite monsters to use in Duel Links. Now, As I've said, I don't have all the Cyber Dragon cards, and I haven't even shown you all of them. There's Cyber Larva, there's Cybernetic Fusion support, there's Cyberload Fusion, like I said. Honestly, there's a lot. If you're wondering why I'm not in my room, I have our iRobot cleaning my room as we speak, so I can't really record while that thing's bumping into my feet. But there are a few Chimera Tech cards, a few Cyber Dragon cards I don't have. But we're well on our way if I really wanted to build a competitive Cyber Dragon deck. And I just wanted to show you off that this is what I did for my birthday, and I'm happy. So thank you guys for seeing me through. Looking at the time, I bet most of you aren't even here this long, because I like to ramble. But if you did, thank you for sticking around, and I will see you guys when I get a few more Cyber Dragon cards. Or if I get a few more videotapes to add to my collection. Until we meet again, sayonara.